Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. Sorry for the lapse in videos. I got sick, a summer cold, kind of lost my voice, had the sniffles, the coughing, and just didn't sound good enough to make a video. We are back though, live in action, ready to give you guys all the information you need about the markets. We've been keeping a close eye on it. What we did see, of course, over the weekend and kind of with the most recent political news is with Trump slapping that 30% tariff on Mexico and the European Union, set to be effective August 1st. Now, the big question, is this going to be if we see a pullback in the market, this is going to be a buy the dip kind of taco trade, considering that the European Union and Mexico, now they have some time to basically negotiate. And are they going to eventually negotiate at a better deal and a better rate? And then once Trump announces that, it's like, hell, the market utilizes that as optimism and pushes the market higher. That's what we've been seeing. So that's kind of, let's just let history keep repeating itself. We'll be talking about Palantir, Robinhood, NVDA, a lot of other big stocks on the watch list and what we've been keeping you guys up to date on. So hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and let's pop it up on the screen here. What you see, the bread and butter that we've been talking about for a long time, Palantir. A lot of you viewers like watching, listening about that. Wooly bully. Palantir right here at 142. Now, what I like about Palantir is it's basically been able to consolidate here at these kind of 130, 140 zone. Had a nice reversal and bottom out here at 130, and now we're seeing it. I think just when the next big piece of news comes out, we haven't had any big news catalyst for Palantir recently, which that's just fine because we know Palantir is establishing contracts left and right, especially with the government, as they become more intertwined with many different companies. So the fact that they've tested 150 twice in recent history here, Palantir, if the market keeps continuing to ride up here, slowly ride up, it's probably going to be testing this 150 twice. Now, the big question is, what's going to be that catalyst that does push it through this 150 all-time high? Once it breaks through and it can close above that 150, I think that's where, what's the run to 180? What's the run to 200? That's the big question because Palantir has been really gearing up for a breakout here, in my opinion. So time is just kind of is the big thing here for Palantir. Earnings is coming up relatively soon. Still has some time, but that's where we're sitting out now with Palantir. So we'll be keeping on the radar, watching it climb to 150 and be keeping you guys more up to date once we do have that closer test to its all-time highs. Now, talking about the market before we get into some of the other stocks on the watch list right here. Like I said, Dow Jones, you see futures down about 200 points. Right now, SPY's down about 0.5%, down about $2.60 at 621 right now. This is, of course, with the imposing of the 30% tariffs on the European Union and Mexico, like we mentioned in the beginning of the video, starting August 1st here, they intend to keep talking with the Trump administration this month in an attempt to agree on a lower rate. And I think that's just what we know it's going to come down to. I don't know why the market's really having these reactions. I think this is more traders that are starting to just, price in and play off the momentum and the movements and probably the uncertainty and the emotion too, just with these tariffs that are being thrown around because we've seen delays. We've seen so many different things back and forth that I don't really care about the tariffs anymore. What I'm really going to be caring about, coming more as a priority into this week for the investors is going to be the kickoff of the second quarter of earnings seasons. This is going to be beginning this next week here. This week, I guess you could call it now, Sunday, Tuesday. You got JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, big banks are going to be releasing their earnings. Then you got Johnson & Johnson, Bank of America, Goldman, Morgan Stanley, PepsiCo, Netflix. So we're going to get some consumer type of information regarding how earnings is going to be doing. And on top of that, also how the big banks are doing. So big key players, big companies that are going to be releasing their earnings this week. Those could be big gauges for how July is going to keep continuing in terms of its performance. We do know that July has a pretty good track record in terms of the broader index. And just looking at where that closed on Friday, S&P 500 index is sitting right now at 6259. If the S&P 500 index can push past 6300, that's where I think you can see bullish momentum back on board. And if it falls beneath this 6200, depending on how Monday is going to happen, and if you can't see a rebound there, that is where we're possibly going to see maybe a slightly pullback, a retest of 61 or 6,000 if there is a stronger dip. But I'm just not personally seeing that right now, depending on how the market's going to react to these tariffs. So things, are always subject to change. Talking about Robinhood here, Robinhood at 68.96. Now, Robinhood had actually a nice jump up to the 100 and stayed above there for some time. I was starting to question, was Robinhood going to close above 100? You see Robinhood right here at 101 and basically has had this tested now about 3 times. The question is, when is Robinhood going to break through 100, hold it, and then when is this resistance point going to turn into the new support level for Robinhood? Because I think right now at its market cap at 86 billion, this could easily continue to run. Robinhood is a major disruptor, and the things that they've been executing on really just show you their track record. So they've been incredibly successful. Robinhood right now it's 98.34. The big question is, Robinhood has had an incredible run up in the last 3 months. It's up like over 100, 130, 140. I don't even know. It's up over 100% in the last 3 months. So the big question is there going to be a pullback and a retesting of Robinhood, possibly here in the 70s, where there was a decent amount of consolidation? What we do need to know is we have some tailwinds ahead of us for Robinhood, depending on how the investors are going, headwinds in front of us and for Robinhood, depending on how the investors are going to react, how the market's going to react and price it in. But you also have a good amount of tailwinds that are behind it. The biggest tailwind is probably going to be the S&P 500 inclusion. S&P 500 inclusion, remember the anticipation for that was what kind of pushed Robinhood up here to the 70s. And once we found out that it wasn't included into the S&P 500, it didn't really move that much, which showed you that investors were okay that holding this stock at 70. So now we could possibly see this push up here to this 100 that we're seeing, and what's going to be the catalyst above that. One of the headwinds for Robinhood that we do have are the obstacles, is basically you have this Florida probe right here drawing criticism for taking, this 25% cut. What they're saying is that Robinhood had advertised that they are offering the lowest crypto trading prices, and they're saying that is not true. But Robinhood has long claimed to be this best bargain right here. And the Crypto General basically disclosed that it delivers the lowest average cost. And they say that they disclose their pricing information to its customers during the life cycle of the trade. That clearly outlines that they do make money off of the spread or the fees associated with the transaction. So I think we know that Robinhood does that. This is kind of a nothing burger, I think, from this guy in Florida. I don't know what they're doing, because I think we all know how Robinhood does make their money. Of course, it's not completely free. There's some type of a background method that they're making their money, and that I think is probably fully disclosed in their policy. Haven't taken a close look at their policy, but if it's in the terms and the agreement, we all agree to that. So I think that's kind of a nothing burger, like I mentioned, for Robinhood. But also, like I said, the headwinds are that you do have this probe nonetheless, because it's just how is the market going to trade and how are they going to react. You have Europe regulators, they're now reviewing kind of the synthetic stock tokens, which include OpenAI and SpaceX. We know with that To Catch a Token event, when Robinhood came out with that, basically tokenizing a lot of the US-based assets, that's incredibly bullish and allows a lot of exposure, and also with the private equities. There was some type of uncertainty, and I think it's just people that don't understand what crypto is, and even OpenAI coming out and saying, hey, if you buy these tokens, you're actually not owning the equity in OpenAI. I think everybody kind of knows that the tokenization and what blockchain technology allows Robinhood to do is basically just track the valuation of these companies. So all you're doing is tracking the valuation of OpenAI. I think these investors in these tokens, they know that they're not buying OpenAI equity. This isn't coming from OpenAI. So maybe those are just people that are confused about crypto, or kind of some people that just aren't up to par with that, and that could be where that's coming from. But also, a lot of these things I think are kind of nothing burgers, and the big question is, when Robinhood does base above that, you see in the overnight hours right here at 99, that is where I think Robinhood is going to continue to run 110, 115 in the table in terms of the bullish perspective. That's what I'm predicting. What you see here, NVIDIA, incredibly well. First $4 trillion company. We see NVIDIA gapping up here again at 165.74, 82 cents up in the overnight session. NVIDIA has been on a great run, continuing to set these all-time highs, in the first $4 trillion company in the world. One of the big things, and what I like from this article here, talking about how the CEO, Jensen, had met with Trump right here. Basically, what we've seen is with the tariffs and types of panics and taxes, I like that Jensen responds and says that there's really shows no signs of panic. And one thing that he does basically emphasize is that tariffs, taxes, and all kinds of rules and regulations, those were in place long before he funded NVIDIA. And so that if Trump really moves ahead with steep semiconductor tariffs, saying that it will be no different. Every single year there are rules and taxes and tariffs and policies that they've also survived. Think of all the different policies and different types of headwinds that NVIDIA has had to face with all different types of administrations in just basically the company's lifetime. And the fact that NVIDIA is here today and at the top of the game in terms of the most valued company in the world at $4 trillion, that's kind of confidence. And the fact that the CEO is saying that I have every confidence that the world is going to survive this, companies will survive this, and whatever it turns out to be, we'll make the best of it. Just saying, hey, they're just going to keep doing their thing regardless of what happens with policy in terms of tariffs. So that is incredibly bullish in terms of the biggest AI semiconductor stock out there and even a big key leader of the AI revolution. So I'm happy, guys. Peace out, take care, and I'll catch you guys later.